Today I'm going to show you how to get your Cricut print and cut settings correct so you can cut your stickers perfectly every single time. Let's go! Okay, so my number one gripe with the Cricut machine and everyone else's, because they're always emailing me this question, is the print and cut settings and how it's not cutting your stickers correctly. You'll see from these examples how often I am wasting material and I am sick of it, and I think I finally found the solution. Alright, I'm going to go through a few important steps before that, and then I'll show you exactly what I did to get my stickers cutting correctly. So first off, I want to show you what my machine was doing. So when I'm cutting my stickers, you'll see it was cutting off the white here and only cutting the white on this side. When I fix my settings, you'll see it is now cutting that even white circle around the whole thing. This was an example of before with that white border on one side, and this is an example of after. So these print and cut issues are mostly for the people that are using external design programs such as Procreate or Illustrator, and the way you're importing in is usually what's causing the problems. So if you are designing straight from the Cricut design space, you shouldn't have these problems, as the program is designed in a certain way that when you use their program, it's going to run smoothly. So fingers crossed you don't have these problems, but I'm going to go through a few tips just to show you how to fix them if you do. So I've had these problems since I've had my machine from 2020, and basically I have tried everything under the sun. I have tried calibrating my machine, buying different material, trying different print settings. I've even replaced my machine and still nothing was working. Randomly I'll have some stickers cut correctly and then all of a sudden it does that same problem. So I found that I'm not having any issues when I'm just using the cut function on the Cricut machine. I can cut vinyl fine, I can cut all those other designs correctly, and it's never an issue. It's only during my print and cut stages. So the first thing what I want you to do is check your calibration. So I'm going to show you how to do this on the computer. What you're going to do is head onto the Cricut design space, head to this top left corner and click calibration. You will then click print and cut and print off your calibration sheet, and this can be done on plain paper. Click continue, and then you're going to load the calibration sheet onto your Cricut machine. Now hopefully this fixes your problems, but as we know, this isn't always the case. This is what the calibration sheet looks like. Usually it will cut a square here. It will then ask you, is it cutting correctly? You'll hopefully say yes, and then it's going to cut about 21 lines this way, 21 lines that way, and then you're going to tell it where the most accurate cut is. So don't freak out if half of them are not on the letter. That's the point. Usually I find mine are around this J to H area. That's where it cuts correctly, and around this 10 area. So once you've done that, you will then go through and it will cut around here, and hopefully it's cutting correctly. You can just say yes. Again, if it doesn't work, you can just follow the process and say no, and it will usually get you to print this sheet out again and go through that process. So that is step number one. Now sometimes that fixes the issue, but sometimes it does not. So number two is to check what sort of paper you were using. So when I print my stickers, they have been on A4 pieces of paper. However, Cricut is designed to work with US letter until recently. They just added a function for A4 paper, but still I am finding that that doesn't work as accurately as US letter. So I have bought some US letter sticker paper, which we're going to use today, and we're going to put that into the machine. So when you go through the process of cutting your stickers, you will pop in whether it's US letter or A4 now. It used to always be default US letter, and I think that was adding to my issues of why it wasn't cutting correctly. So if you can, try use US letter. You can have a play around with A4, but I found that the US letter works better. The next thing is to check your print settings. Now I'm going to show you from A to Z how I do my print and cut with a design that I've made, but checking your print settings is really important. If you're printing on the wrong paper, if you're printing to scale it to full size, that is going to change the dimensions of what you set up and usually will not cut correctly. So making sure if you're using US letter paper, use US letter on your print settings. It's really important. And a little bonus tip, even if you are printing with glossy paper and you haven't said glossy, that can make that ink really runny and your stickers will not dry correctly. So be really careful with your print settings. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to show you the whole entire process as to how I fixed my print and cut issues with the Cricut machine, and hopefully this will help you. Alright, so as most of you know, have been watching my channel, I design all my stickers on Procreate and then upload it into the Cricut design space. I'm going to show you what happens when I upload this onto the Cricut design space and how it stretches my designs and it's not accurate. So let's upload it. So I'm going to go into a new project Now I've got all my designs here. As you can see, I've had lots of attempts with this. So these are the ones that are uploaded just with a normal canvas that I use on Procreate. And you'll see when it opens, it's huge. So it's not the size that I would like. And you'll see over here, they have this warning sign that says it's too large. So what I usually do when I come into Cricut, I don't know where the smiley face is gone, but that's okay, is I just come in and shrink it until I get rid of that warning sign. And it's usually under this 20 mark. That's usually the process that I've been doing, and then I'll just hit make it and go through those steps. And as you see here, you now have that option to do either A4 or letter. But I found that that doesn't work correctly, and it's not keeping my designs the way I want, and it's also making my designs cut incorrectly. So what I've done instead, you'll see the sizes up here of what they actually want the design to be. So it wants to be 15 centimeters wide and 19 centimeters high. So what I do instead on my Procreate program is make my canvas size exactly those dimensions. So 15 centimeters wide and 19 centimeters high. All right, so typically my canvas settings are over here. So there's 1920 by 2500. What I want to do now is to create a new canvas. So here you go into this top right corner, there is a black X, and you can change by pixels, millimeters, centimeters, or inches. We're going to change it by centimeters, and what I'm going to do is enter the width, which as we said was 15.98, and centimeters was 19.84. Now instead of going through the whole entire process again, I can just copy the template, copy canvas, and put that onto this new sheet. And you just want to make sure that it hasn't damaged your design in any way or made it unusable. So what we're going to do is upload this into Cricut Design Space. So when you go to upload, I always hit complex because why not? And you're going to have a print and cut image. So you want to make sure that the canvas is exactly the size that you set it as, and this should work. Last time it just shrunk to that size, but we'll see. Maybe it was just a fluke. All right, so I'm going to hit make it. Now, as I said, there's these two options of A4 or letter. I'm going to use letter for this one. And what we're going to do is click continue. I'm then going to grab my letter paper and send it to my device. So I ordered this inkjet letter paper from Amazon. Seems to be working really well so far. So we're going to use this instead of my A4 piece of paper, but I'm going to upload this into the machine and then we will print it and hopefully it cuts properly. So on my printer, I have just set that it is letter paper and it is glossy. I'm then going to show you the print settings on my machine. So we're going to send it to printer. And I always use system dialog instead of the adding bleed. What you want to do is now minimize because the print settings will pop up behind Cricut. You then go through and just double check that everything's all good. I always go best quality. I say it's glossy photo paper. You could also change it to inkjet. Yeah, I'm happy with glossy photo paper for my machine. I always send it from the rear tray. And this is what I like to keep the same. So instead of scaling it to fit size, as it's already suggested US, I just leave it as it is. And now we're going to print that. Okay, so my design has now printed. Hello. So as you know, if you've ever used a Cricut machine or if you've seen videos, it always has this black line around it, which is how it scans where everything is on the page. What we're going to do now is load it onto the mat and then get it to cut, and hopefully it will cut correctly. Okay, so another important tip before we load it onto the mat is to check your equipment. So if your blades are not sharp enough, if you haven't cleaned them, if your mat is no longer sticky, so if you can't really hold it in place, it is time to get a replacement because those sort of things will again impact your cut. And it's really important to make sure you're getting this exactly on the lines, because if you don't, that can be the difference between a perfect cut and an imperfect cut. So it's correctly on the lines, we've loaded that up, we're going to pop it in the Cricut machine and hope it cuts. Maybe soon I'll have
have your body up on mine. Do you hear that body? Do you feel it here?
Alright, we're going to do the big reveal together. So, usually can bend this upside down, but we're just going to hope it cuts correctly. Oh, it's got a bit of residue stuck on there, but that's a-okay. So once I peel all this leftover sticker paper back. Okay, so I've just peeled the residue off. That's probably one of the downfalls of this new sticker paper, but perfect cuts. These won't stick to my hands like the other ones, but I'll hold them up. So it's got that even border around the side. We did it! Yay! So I think the main things to take away from this are that there are a few things you may need to adjust. So you may need to calibrate your machine, you may need to buy new materials, you may need to have new sticker paper if you need it. The Cricut machine still does favor those US letters, even though they just introduced A4. I would still stick to the US letter if you can. And also, if you've tried all these solutions and they're still not working, it may be that you need to get a machine replacement, and I would suggest contacting Cricut as soon as possible. There is an email you can email them on, and that is usually the best way to do it, and I'll get back to you within a few days. Sometimes I'll call you or send a video to verify what the problem is, and I was able to take mine into where I bought it from in Australia, and I was able to get it fixed straight away and replaced, and it was a really smooth process. So that is a really good suggestion if all the other things haven't worked, but definitely try all these solutions first. And I really hope you're getting perfect cuts with your stickers. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I really hope this helped, and otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye.